We have two programs for you today. The first is Beyond the Crisis, which Tellil produced for Human Resources Development. In this program, we will meet fisheries workers that found the courage to retrain and move beyond the crisis.
College or the school or whatever has always been a dream of mine that I never accomplished when I came out of school. And when I seen that the fishery was going down, we were getting less work, less money, I figured that I'd jump ahead of everybody else and get on the bandwagon before everybody else did. And so, and with the course I'm taking, I'm hoping to come back here to the community and help other people.
Fishing is more than an occupation. It's a lifestyle which has been handed down for generations. The people of Petit de Gras have lived by the sea for more than 275 years. Whole families worked at the fish plant. In 1993, all of that changed. Drastic quota cuts in the Atlantic ground fishery forced the closure of Richmond Fisheries, throwing 230 people out of work. Hi, my name is Billy Sampson. I worked at the fish plant for 16 years. I went from working 12 months a year with 2 weeks off for summer vacation to working 3 months of the year, with the rest of the time being on pogey. That's no way to live. All you do is fall back and fall back. You get into a rut being on pogey, not giving a hoot what's going on. That's when I decided to get out and get into retraining. In this video, you'll meet others who successfully retrained. I hope our stories help you.
Well, there's nothing left in the fisheries, so you had to do something. It was either do something or sink. Actually, my first day at nursing school, I figured I was going to be the oldest one, but there's a lady there in my class that's 54 and has 9 children. I'm glad I did it. It was a lot of work, but it'll be worth it in the end. At least now, I know, even if I move away, I have something to go away with, and something that gives me a little bit of power to play with to find the job.
I took an entrepreneurial course. It helps you in starting your own business. I find it pretty interesting, you know. It gives me a way out of the fisheries, more or less, to see what's out there. We just got laid off for the final time there at the beginning of January, so I figured to myself, it's either make a move or get stuck in a rut and go nowhere. So I got myself enough courage to, and with the help of my tags counselor, she pretty well set it up for me and told me all the options I could take.
Okay, another big smile, please. Nice picture, nice.
I took photography. I took my first year was just like an introductory program. It's basic photography, and this year I'm taking digital imaging. And I feel it's been a long 2 years. I commute every weekend. I go to Halifax. That's where I'm taking my course right now, and I leave my family, my husband and my daughter, and it's a hard go. I mean, I relocated for 2 years, but I enjoyed it. I wouldn't give it up because I've got a really good training.
I started last year. Last year was my first year. I took secretarial at Stray Campus, where I'm at this year. This year I'm taking business information technology. I've learned a lot since I went back to school, and it gives me courage, like knowing that I have that behind me and I can go out and look for a job and know that I know how to do something, that I can get a good job.
I worked in the fishery since August 21st of 1987 is when I was hired at the fish plant. I didn't want to stay in the fisheries the rest of my life. It took me, it took me 1 year as to get my carpentry certificates, but I need 8,000 hours to more or less to complete the program, the apprenticeship program. It doesn't matter how long it takes to get your hours. I mean, If it takes you 4 or 5 years, it doesn't really matter. You still made that step and you got them papers and you're going to go ahead and continue.
When I quit school, I was 17 years old. I quit school and, you know, I had enough of it. I said, the hell with that, you know. Went, applied at the fish plant and got a job, and Jesus, I worked there, like I say, for 10, 12 years, wide open. No regrets about it, don't get me wrong. Like, I liked working in the fisheries, you know, like everybody was like a family. But, you know, like after a while, the work gets getting down, there's no more work. And I took a video production course for 30 weeks in Ayrshire. That was a great course. I really enjoyed that course. Well, hopefully now the future is going to be working in video and computers maybe, and who knows? Like now the doors are open, I think. It's not just closed to the fisheries.
I applied for a course, and I was doing camera work and technical work and a little bit of editing here and there, and so shadowing the lighting man and the audio man, and kind of included everything that needed to be done with the video production. It rebuilt my confidence to the, oh, that's just unreal. You just don't know how good it makes you feel, that knowing that for the past 12 years of working in the fisheries and wondering that, is that all that I'm going to be able to do, and wondering that, well, what else is there out there for me? All I've been doing for the past 12 years is working in fisheries. But the fact is that I gave myself a chance to go out there and do other things outside the fisheries, and I was really impressed. And I impressed a lot of people that I was capable of doing other things aside from cleaning fish and packing fish.
There is a future beyond the crisis. What's happening on Alma Dam is being repeated in other fishing communities. The Acadian village of Chetiquin relied heavily on the fishery. Loss of cod to process meant a dramatic reduction of work at local fish plants. But Chetiquin has the advantage of being located along the Cabot Trail, and as a result, it receives 500,000 visitors each year. Tourism development began over 40 years ago and continues today. Some ex-fishery workers are looking to this industry for retraining.
J'étais obligée de chercher l'automne pour le courage pour commencer ça. C'était vraiment difficile. Ça faisait une espèce que je travaillais à l'usine à poissons, puis c'était vraiment, vraiment difficile.
It wasn't easy to find enough courage to start this. It was really hard. I had been working at the fish plant for some time, and it was really, really hard. I looked for my option. I had to decide. I had to do something. I couldn't work at the plant. There was no fish. So I decided to choose another path.
Bon, je peux dire que ça a vraiment, vraiment changé ma vie parce que 3 ans passés, je ne m'aurais jamais vu assis dans une chaise ici à fait parler avec quelqu'un que je ne connais pas. Puis, une fois qu'il m'a offert ce job-là, travailler au théâtre.
And I can say it really changed my life, because 3 years ago, I couldn't picture myself here speaking with someone I don't know. Once I was offered the job of working in the theater, I told them I was interested, because I wasn't the type of person to go into acting on a stage. I was so shy. Things have changed now because I have this new outlook on life. I discovered a lot of talent I didn't know I had. I knew I had some talent, but I never thought they would be put to use. Now I see new doors opening. I feel I can do anything I want.
L'automne, je voulais faire mon grade 12. J'avais quitté l'école, j'avais mon grade 10. Puis, me semble, j'avais jamais...
I always wanted to finish grade 12. I only had grade 10. It seemed to me I never could finish high school. So finally, here was my chance to do it. I really loved it. And it seemed to me it was easier this time around. I could learn more. I understood better in math. I was always poor in math, and now it was easy. I passed, got my certificate, and I took my cooking course. It's really interesting and different. We learned basic cooking. You start with the basics and build from there, and it's very interesting.
You have to make up your mind when you come here that you'll have to work. I think it's as tough here as in any other college. You must have a good attitude. Attitude is important. If you want to learn, they're here to teach you. To do something that would not help you doesn't make any sense. It's much better to come here and learn. You can't lose.
J'étais gérant de la coopérative des pêcheurs de Chéticamp et Grand Étang pour 9 ans.
I was manager of the Chéticamp Fishermen's Co-op for 9 years. Then I went into business for myself for 6 years, buying and selling fish. And then for 2 years, I went into a partnership in another plant for another 2 years. And with the end of the Grand Fishery, we had no choice but to stop. The program I follow is business technology. It is centered mainly on computers since September. I was in business 20 years and never touched a computer. And if you don't use it, you get to fear it. I'm quite happy that I'm no longer afraid of the computer. And I have to admit, it's extremely efficient. Before I learned about computers, I had nothing good to say about them. I was afraid of a computer, and I was always looking for other ways to get the same results. But computers are all over, in every business, in every office, so you have to get used to them.
Right now we have fisheries tags programs, and there is fisheries money out there, and the government has given us this opportunity to retrain and the capabilities of knowing that there are retraining programs out there. So while the money is there, just please go out there. Just don't wait until the money is ran out. Take it now. Take advantage of that money and go out and just do whatever is worth for you. In the long run, it'll be worth it. Just for yourself and your self-confidence. It's worth it for you. It was worth it for me, and I feel just great, knowing that there is life out there outside the fisheries.
And don't be afraid of it, just go for it. Grab onto it and fly. Because it'll take you places that you've never even dreamed of going.
Now, Tell Il host Mary Pat Cude interviews weaver Del Zappo of Point Michaud, Cape Breton. Del Zappo uses an artistic eye and intricate skill to create magnificent silk scarves and linens of the finest quality. I'm sure you're going to enjoy meeting this artist.
Weaving, Del?
My husband started me weaving. I had studied some pottery beforehand. My husband's a potter. And we discovered that separate studios work better in our family. And as a result, he suggested I take a weaving course. And it worked. I loved it right from the beginning. I was intimidated initially, but after having a good basic course, I found I really liked it.
And how long have you been weaving?
Ooh, I took the course in 1969, but I was just playing around on weekends and in between a full-time job. It's been the past 15 years that I've done pretty steady weaving, trying to do it in some capacity to at least supplement my income, if not fully substitute it.
I don't know a whole lot about weaving, and I'm sure quite a few of our viewers are as much in the dark about the process as I am. So could you take us fairly simply through just how the loom operates, how you work with the loom?
A loom is just a frame to hold threads. Woven material has threads that are interlaced. This is as opposed to knitting and crocheting where threads are actually looped or knotted together. So you go over and under threads and you need some kind of foundation to hold those threads level. That's what a loom does. The other parts of the loom lift some of the threads up, drop the others, so you don't have to do it manually. If you're darning socks, the old darning way, you are weaving. You go over a thread, under a thread, over a thread, under a thread. That's extremely tedious and impractical for large pieces of fabric. So a loom helps you do large pieces faster. That's all it does. Thread is wound on the back beam, the unwoven thread that you're going to weave. It comes across the middle of the loom, up to the front where you actually weave on it, and it's wound when it's woven on a front beam. In between, we have shafts, sticks of wood, with heddles, little loops of string that lift and lower various threads. That's all it is. Fundamentally, that's all it is. You can raise those shafts by hand, or you can raise them by pushing on them with, they're attached to a treadle, so you can push on the treadle down below that pulls up or lowers the shaft. That's all it is. It's fundamentally very simple. Doesn't look it, but it is.
What are the materials you use?
You can weave with anything. Anything that cloth is made of can be woven. I use primarily silk now. I've used cotton, I've used linen, and I've used wool. Still do periodically, but right now I'm concentrating on silk. The silk is coming from China originally. Most of the silk used in North America comes from China. I buy it through a yarn supply company out in British Columbia, and they import it from China.
What inspires your work? Where do your colors and the texture, where do they come from?
Walking over here every day. The land, the surroundings, all art generally comes from an individual's reflection on his surroundings. That can be in a city or it can be in a rural area. Needless to say, living where I live on the shore here, the colors and the light and the effect of sun on water and wind on water and grass infuses my work. I find that, in fact, the colors for me directly come out of my environment, and to change those colors is sometimes difficult. It's very difficult for me here to work with exceedingly bright primary colors. I don't see them around me. I have traveled to the Caribbean and suddenly saw color in a new way. They don't have the same kind of light, they don't have the same kind of foliage, needless to say. And so colors are different depending on where you live. My work directly is influenced directly by the color and the patterns I see around me.
How long does it take to make, say, a scarf?
We don't in weaving measure how long a thing is. The setting up of the loom, starting with the measuring of threads, winding them into a long manageable bunch we call a skein, putting it on the loom, threading each thread through those little string loops that I mentioned earlier, this can take truly days. If I'm setting up this loom to do 5 shawls, it will take me a minimum of 2 8-hour days to prepare to weave. The actual weaving time doesn't take terribly long. Once you know what everything's doing and where you're going with it, it's not difficult. I can actually weave a scarf in about 3 hours. I will have spent 1.5 to 2 days to prepare the loom to weave 12 scarves. And I could have spent anywhere from half an hour to a week designing. The design process can be extremely slow. That's probably the single slowest part of the whole process. If you know your design, once you're ready to weave, that's purely a mechanical area at that point.
I understand that you've recently acquired a computer and that this will eliminate some of the more tedious aspects of the work.
Oh yes, I was dragged into the computer age. I used to do the designing for the type of weaving I'm doing. I'm a damask weaver. The designing for damask is done on graph paper. You fill in little squares on the graph paper, one by one. This was okay when I was doing small scarves, and my pattern was maybe 50 squares high and 10 wide. When I started moving into shawls, I was 70 squares wide and anywhere from 600 to 800 squares tall. You also have to put a few repetitions in there. The physical labor of doing this was just ridiculous, and so I was brought into the computer age. I have a program that was developed for me at the University College of Cape Breton's CAD/CAM Center by Brian McMahon. And this program enables me to draw on a graph paper on the screen, and it's wonderful. It's truly wonderful. It doesn't design for me. I still have to design. It just makes filling in and erasing a whole lot easier.
So it just gets rid of the labor part of it and
It
leaves
speeds up that labor part, yes. I'm still, in fact, spending weeks designing. But that's weeks as opposed to months. And the months was not necessarily creative. The months was simply filling in and sharpening an eraser so you could erase little tiny squares. So the work is still there, but it's vastly speeded up. And because of that, it's definitely more enjoyable. I think one's brain always runs a little faster than one's hand. And as a result, the computer brings everything a little closer. I can get on paper faster what I have in my head.
Where can people purchase your work, Del?
Arts North on the Cabot Trail in the summer, Foxglove and Time in Sydney in the summer, the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia's gift shop in Halifax all year long, the Vancouver Museum of Crafts gift shop all year long, and 2 or 3 places down in the United States, galleries and gift shops there. I have a fairly limited production. This is a fairly tedious form of weaving. And combining that with the high cost of the materials, the pure silk is going up almost weekly in price. I don't produce a large body of work, so I don't have a large number of outlets. People who are interested can also contact me directly, especially in the winter when things aren't as available as they might be other times of the year.
You've done some very special pieces. What would your most special, most favorite pieces have been?
Oh gee, it's always the one that isn't done, the one that's in my mind that I've got to get to soon. I have a couple of shawls that I'm very pleased with, one in particular that I've saved for me, but it's the stuff coming down the road that's wait till you see that sort of a thing, you know. The foundation threads run from the back of the loom where the unwoven threads are wound to the front of the loom where the weaving occurs. These foundation threads are called a warp. The filler, wound on a spool in a shuttle, the filler is called a weft. The old-fashioned word is woof. You used to hear of the warp and the woof. We call them weft today. Simplest form of weaving, over one and under one. My threads are hung from heddles, hanging from shafts. When I press a pedal or a treadle underneath, it raises 2 shafts and lowers 2 others.
That brings half of my threads up, half of them down. Little opening here is called a shed. I put my shuttle through, it carries the thread through the shed. I beat it into place. I now raise the opposite threads and lower the alternates. Put the shuttle back. This is our simplest form of weaving, called a tabby, or a plain weave, over one and under one. Then you start varying that. You go over 3 and under 1, you've got blue jeans. It's a twill. In my case, my threads hang on 2 sets of shafts. The front ones up here that are operated by my treadles, the back ones, 70 of them on the loom, which are operated manually by these little toggles. The string goes up over the top of the loom and attaches to the shaft. I pull this toggle down and lock it. A group of threads are raised. If I don't raise any of those threads manually, but only raise 1 out of every 4 each time up front, my weft lies on the surface of the weaving. And you can see here the green is filling in on the surface, covering up most of the white. Each time I press a different treadle, it raises a different thread out of the series. If I were to manually raise all of the shafts that I'm using now, it pulls all of these threads up. Now when I press a treadle, 1 goes down and the rest stay up. Most of the white threads are now lying on the surface, and our weft is hiding in the back. So you see mostly white, just a tiny bit of green. If I drop all of them, but a couple of them, I have some up, some down. Those that are down, 1 out of every 4 comes up. Those that are up, 1 of every 4 goes down. The white will lie on the surface, covering up the green weft thread, and I'm able to form a pattern. See the little white dots starting to appear.